Okay. So really quick, I actually wrote out stuff that is a little bit different for today, but because you're here live, I want to check in with you about this. How you're feeling about the guilt thing? Because I did was working on something similar for a different client, and so I wanted to check in with that on you. And see how that is, and kind of see if that's still a belief or still an issue, or how you're feeling about all of that. Because I feel like guilt is one of those deep things that it tends to come up over and over again. So just checking in with that, and then we'll move into the other things. Oh, that's amazing. Well, just notice if it does come up. And just to context you around kind of what came up with my other client was guilt around working like not a lot and then making a lot of money. And I don't know that that is your story specifically, but I think for anyone, there is. I don't want to project the word fear, but I do think that the more money we start making, and I'll be very honest, when I look back at and I think I said this on the last call, the highest cash months that I've had were always months that I wasn't doing a lot, right? And so for me and people like me, and all of my private clients will tell you the same thing, that they have like they'll start to have these really high cash months, and then they start adding more things to their plate because their nervous system is wired for, I have to work a lot to have a lot of money. And so what that does is, obviously our brain and our nervous system is wired for it, and that's what feels naturally normal. And so we'll start like adding things to our plate. And there is that sense of guilt around, I make a lot of money, but I don't work a lot, right? And I didn't know if that was ever a part of your specific story, but for anybody watching the replay, I think it's an important thing to bring up, especially for those of us that are in developing countries, right? And one thing that I was like talking through with my private client was, all the things that we've done to get to a place where we could offer our offers, right? So like for me, sorry, my ear is like stuck, like has water in it. So the way that I'm like talking sounds really weird to my ear. Um, so yeah, so the conversation that we had was, for me, like I had a lot of trauma, and I went through a lot to get to where I am to teach this the way I teach it. Not to mention, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars and have several different certifications, right? So when I think about it from that perspective of like, yeah, I don't show up and work the way that other people do, doesn't mean that I haven't put in the time or effort or went through a lot to get to a place where I can teach this, right? And teach it, embody it, help other people do it, whatever, right? So when we have that reframe of, okay, well, maybe we're not doing a lot right now, I guarantee you in the past you have, right? And so for you, I don't exactly know your story about how you got into what you do, but like you've had several kids, like I don't want to say several kids, but you have two or three kids, correct? Like at least two. I think you might have three. I can't remember. Four. Oh my goodness. Okay. I thought you had a lot of kids. I wasn't sure. Okay. Sorry about that, because I'm sure you've told me that before. Okay. So four kids, right? You've been a mama. You've been in, like, how development works. You've went through it. And then I'm sure you have a background in like studying this and learning this and like your whole background, right? And so if that fear or that story ever does pop up for you, a good way to go back is like, wait a minute, what did I do? What did I experience to get here? Right. And for me, when I think about that, it relinquishes any sort of guilt I have, because to me, the truth is, I went through a lot to get. Oh, you have twins. I feel like you did tell me that. My best friends growing up were twins. So I kind of have a soft spot for twins. Yeah. And so just kind of rooting back into that of like, wait a minute, I did go through a lot to get here. Right. And whether or not that a lot was good or bad is irrelevant. I know I've been through it. I've embodied it. I understand. And for you, like being able to teach people about the stuff that you teach, and then coming at it from like, I've had four kids, like there's something to that. There's a lot of credibility that I think that comes in for that. Now, for full transparency, I have had conversations with people where they're like, oh, well, I teach people to do X, Y, or how can I teach people to do X, Y, Z when I haven't done it before? Right. And my answer is always the same, is we don't ever ask doctors like, have you had a baby? Can you deliver a baby? My clients consistently have higher cash months than me. Doesn't mean like, and they would all tell you that I've helped them get there. And so it's this weird balance of, yes, I like, for me, I have to root back into, okay, what did I do that gets me here, that I can speak from lived experience, right? Versus learning something in a book or learning for a certification. And also being like, okay, so I have this lived experience, even if I haven't done the things that I teach people, right? And then I think it's even extra for somebody like you because you have this lived experience, you have this background. I'm not exactly sure what your background is, like if you have a certification or if this is what you studied, I'm not exactly sure. But you also have the lived experience on top of your background about how you learned what you teach people. So really rooting into that and being like, wait a minute, I do know what I'm talking about. I did put in the work. And now what if the reframe was now I just get to enjoy all the fruits that I've already put in? Like, does that make sense? Yes. Yes, exactly. And I had a feeling that that was probably a part of your story of like how much you have worked to get here. I've seen it, right? Like you've been in my world for probably about a year, maybe a little bit less or a little bit more. I can't exactly like around a year. And obviously I've seen it. You show up super consistent, right? And so I knew for you that was part of your story. It's like you do show up. But I think there are other people that are like, don't show up super consistently or don't work super hard or whatever. And it's like really going into that belief and or story around, and like just because I'm not working a lot today or because I don't want to work a lot in the future. That's another big one. I think for you, you have big goals, right? You want to get to a point where you're making more, but you're still working the same and or less. So this is going to be something for you that you need to be mindful of that might pop in the future of this conversation of I don't really work a lot and I make a lot of money. And coming back to this belief of, wait a minute, what did I put in to get here? And I've put in so much to get here that I now have the momentum, right? So, yeah, really just like rooting into that, I think also really helps support us and grounding in what we have to offer, why, and to let go of this belief that we have to work hard, right? Okay, well, I did work hard. I did, and I'm done. I'm moving on, right? For me, it's maybe I haven't worked hard, but it's like I've been through a lot and I've been through enough and I don't need to go through any more. I don't need to make it harder on myself. But what I notice, and just to kind of like circle back around, is that so many of my clients that have these high catch months, almost all of them will start putting more on their plate because their brain is wired for, well, I'm not working enough to get these results. So always coming back to, well, what have I done to get here? Right. So I just want to give you that information if it does start to pop up in the future, because as you start to grow and make more money with the same amount of effort, that might happen. And who knows, might not. I don't know, but just wanted to like cover my baseline on that. Yeah. Okay. The other thing that we're diving in today is you guys know love the concept of safety. We talk about this so much, and I want to come back around to it in a little bit of a different way today. But we talk a lot about feeling safe to have money, feeling safe to have a lot of money, feeling safe to have the business that we desire, right? And so, really going into this concept of safety, and we're going to go through a little bit of that today, but really, we're going to flip the script and we're going to sit with the concept of feeling into money. If money was a person, and we're going to ask money around how safe it feels with us. I think this is a really big thing. And we've done stuff kind of similar where we've like, you know, personified money, but I don't know that we've ever sat down and said, hey, money, do you feel safe with me? Because I would go as far as to say that safety is the top, like the top two things, if not the top thing that I see holding people up. The difference or the caveat, or not the caveat, the to say something further about it, sorry, I don't know what word I'm trying to say, is we have to get clear on where the safety is amiss. Maybe it's not that you have an issue with safety with money. It might be that money doesn't feel safe with you, right? It might be that, well, I actually feel really safe to have money, but I don't feel safe with my current business model. I don't feel safe with I'm currently working a job and having my business. Like I have a client that has a full-time job and trying to get her business off the ground, it was just too much and it didn't feel safe for her. And so we have to get really clear on what our stories are around safety. Because again, it's that duality of we're going to tap and install the safety. But then from there, we're going to get some wisdom and inspired action around how to actually make ourselves feel safer, right? It's both. It's the installation and the action that we need to take. And sometimes that looks like, a lot of different things of like, wow, I didn't realize this, but money really doesn't feel safe with me. And I need to get like a financial advisor, or I need to have a plan for money, or whatever. It might just be, I need to appreciate money more. I need to write a thank you letter. Like you'll start to understand why money feels the way it does. And the truth is that whether or not you believe in this like kind of work of like woo woo kind of esoteric, because I would say this kind of like lands in that realm, but when you get into the brain body connection of things, the reason that we personify things the way that I have you guys do it is because when we personify things, our brain perceives it differently and allows us to access different information. So we do that very strategically and not in a woo woo sense, in a very like strategic sense of how our brain is putting together information and if it's flagging that information as safe or not safe. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the question that I have, and I have a bunch of questions that we're going to go through today, but the first question I have is just kind of what you're feeling with safety, around money. And then I'm going to ask you the same thing with your business model and just start to get a clear, and I didn't ask it from 1 to 10. It's just more like kind of childlike curiosity. Do I feel safe to have the money I desire? So like, for example, if you're, want consistent 10K months, it's like, well, do I feel safe to have that? Do I feel safe to receive it? Do I feel safe to have that kind of money over and over again, drop into my existence without any extra effort? Because for you, you're already super consistent, right? I think for you, it's just continuing this work and have a little tweaks, right? A few little tweaks to maybe like your sales page or your strategy or something like that. But for the most part, I don't think you need to do anything more than what you're doing now. Now, obviously, I don't know like the ins and outs of like your business, like your goal and how you want to get there, but I think you want to stay pretty passive as far as like passive offers. Um, and when you're so consistent, I don't really feel like you need to do more than that other than this work of just allowing yourself to experience it. And I ask myself, is that money is telling me it's safe with me because I'm a great saver? Yes. Okay. This is such a good point. So I would say majority of people, especially if people have anything around like making a lot of money and then spending it, they won't feel safe to have more money because they don't want to spend it all and then like have that guilt around spending it all. But sometimes we have people like this that are like, you save too much. You're too careful with money because, and again, I'm very mindful about how I say this on a training because it's a duality. It's we need to respect money, we need to save money, and also if money is energy, it needs to flow. Money doesn't want to be stagnant. That's not to say to spend beyond your means or to spend like you're the six-figure version of yourself before you're the six-figure version of yourself. That is not what I'm saying, right? I'm saying to get very mindful about what that means to let money flow. And we're going to get really clear on that today, right? Because I have a bunch of questions to help you get very clear on what that looks like and how much that opens up your capacity to receive and hold more, right? So I'm going to ask you these questions. I'm not sure if you're like in a place because you've been typing a lot this morning. So I assume that you have like you don't have to go to work after this and you have space to type. If you want to share it in the comments, you can. You don't have to, but if you want to share them in the comments, just let me know so I can give you like space and time to like, you know, think about it, right? Think about what I'm asking you because these are kind of ended questions. Well, let's just start and you can tell me, hey, we're going too fast, or hey, I don't want to answer all these, or you just let me know. I can kind of gear it to what you need. Okay. So I know that we kind of already asked this question, but I want to see what else comes up for you, right? So really quick, I just want to take like a few deep breaths together. And you know how I like to just have a breath, arriving here, setting the intention that we get the information we need to get to our goal with ease and flow for the greatest, highest good for all, right? Like we just want ease and flow. We just want to get to where we want to go, and we want to do it in the most efficient way possible. Taking a breath to set your intention, and maybe your intention is different, right? You can set your own intention, especially if there's any sort of resistance to, oh, I just get what I want with ease and flow. You can set your own intention, but to get the information we need to get to the goal that we desire with ease and flow, right? For the greatest, highest good for all. Taking a deep breath, stretching, moving your body if you need to. And now I'm going to ask you questions, and you can take a minute and kind of ponder if you want, but really starting to get clear on your story around safety and money's story on safety and what you need to do to bridge the gap, right? Okay. So, how safe is it for me to have money? And I would do this on a scale. So 10 would be like, it's very safe for me to have money. One would be like, not at all. How safe is it for me to have money? 9. I love that. So, guys, if you're watching the replay and yours was lower than an 8, then ask yourself, why isn't it safe? Right? It will answer you, it will give you the information that you need. Again, answering from your body, not your brain. Your brain has a lot of stories to tell. We want to listen to our body. The next question is, how safe is it for money to be with you? So 10 being yes, money feels safe to be with me. 1 being nope, money does not feel safe to be with me, right? We're flipping the script. Good. I love that. Okay. The next question is more open-ended, right? Does money want to be around me? And I know that that kind of sounds a little weird, but just trust like the initial answer that comes through. Yes. Okay. The next question is, does money feel respected by me? Does money feel respected by me? Amazing. Does money feel honored by me? And guys, if any of your answers are no, then you always want to ask why, right? Because if I was in a coaching call with you, a coaching container with you, that's exactly what I would say. Well, why? Because we're trying to get the information we need to put together our story so we can rewire it, right? So anytime you answer no or anytime your number is low, always ask why. From childlike curiosity, we're not forcing, we're not being mean. We're just like, that's interesting. Why? And it'll tell you. Again, our sensations that we experience and our emotions are just there to give us wisdom, give us information. That's why when we ask it, it'll answer, right? Now, sometimes for some of you that really struggle to be in your body, this might feel uncomfortable or awkward, and you just have to find a way to ground yourself in to feel safe to be in your body, right? And you can do that with bilateral stimulation, or you can do that with tapping, but just to ground in to feel safe to listen to the wisdom that your body and your sensations and your emotions have for you. You already have all the information you need. It's already indexed there. We just have to find the path to get to all the information, right? That's why not one strategy works for everybody, because we have to figure out what works for us. Okay. Do I feel like money is safe right now? So, do I feel like money is safe right now? Which I know sounds a little bit weird, but just trust that your answer is right. Do I feel like money is safe right now? Good. And I'm curious because I know you answered yes and hi to everything, but if I ask the question, what can I do to make money feel more safe with me? What comes forward? And I'm going to give you some time because I realize that's kind of like an open-ended question. 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 An open-ended Okay. Let's start getting a little clear on what that means. And remember, because you were like, I don't exactly know what that means. Well, can you ask it? And if you have trouble with this, let me know because we can do a process for you to feel close enough to money to ask it these questions because it's just trying to give you information. Yeah. So you just let me know if you need help or if an answer comes through pretty like quickly and easily. With joy. Okay. Let's start to ground that in. Okay. Yeah. And I can help you with that. That's no problem at all. So let's come back to that at the end. We'll do some visualization work. We'll do some tapping work to get you to a place where you can tap into that information confidently with joy. I am really curious though, if I do ask you very quickly, like, are you saying that adventurous means money wants me to have more joy, right? Like to attract in more money from joy and to do it more confidently. Am I understanding that correctly? Like it's asking you to be more confident. It's asking you to have more joy. I just want to make sure I'm understanding that. Free. Okay. I like that. All right. We'll keep going. Okay, confident. Oh, I see. I was like misreading that. Sorry. Confidence? Is that what that's supposed to be? Haha, okay. Just want to make sure because I'm a really terrible speller. I have dyslexia, so sometimes I'll like read stuff and I don't read it correctly. So just want to make sure. Okay. So we're gonna come back around to that because I want to see how much information that we can get on your own, and then we'll go from there, right? So sorry, hold on 1 second. Let me get to where I'm going here. Okay. So now I want you to answer these. If I have the money I desire. So really write in the amount that your goal is, right? So if I have $5,000 months consistently, right? Whatever your goal is, I am scared I will. And just drop that in. See what comes forward when I say that. So if I have enter your goal, so 5,000 months, $5,000 months consistently, I am scared I will. Yeah, of course. Take all the time you need here because this is an important one. And sometimes fears do tend to be a little difficult to dig out. So if you have trouble, you just let me know, and I'm just going to hold space for you to get curious. Okay, so is it if I make whatever your goal is, I will relax and then what will lessen? Am I understanding that correctly? I think that's what you're saying. And like the money will lessen, like if I get too comfortable and I relax, like I won't have as much money. Is that what the story is? Yes. Okay. This is such a pivotal moment. This is so important because like, do you see how that if you have this belief, right? If I'm consistent, then I'll relax too much and then the money will lessen. So, do you see how if you keep that belief that you will always either have a income ceiling and or you will always put more on your plate. And I mean, you're a mama of four and you have another job. Like, I know that you want to work the same or least amount and make more money. But do you see how clearly that's the issue here? And it's not just you. It's not just you. Everybody deals with this. I have this, especially if you have any stories around, sorry, I'm trying to think about how to articulate this, like being mean to yourself and as a way to motivate yourself, right? Like I will procrastinate, and then I'm mean to myself to motivate myself. And yes, maybe it works sometimes, but really, if my deeper desire is to feel empowered or free or to make more money with ease and flow, did I get that money in an aligned way? No, I'm getting it in a mean way. I'm being mean to myself. And then because you're a mama, what would you say to your kids if they came to you with that belief, right? And they said, well, and not like it's a little bit difficult, right? Because like we don't want to tell our kids not to work, right? Like that's not the message we're trying to send. But that when they have a belief that isn't actually true, that actually makes them feel bad, that actually makes them be mean to themselves in order or maybe you've experienced this with your kids with procrastination with their like schoolwork. I know I used to be a big procrastinator with my schoolwork, but I graduated with honors, right? Like I was one of the top graduates of my class in university. Um, and but I procrastinated and then I'd be so mean to myself. And on some level, it did work, but it was very unhealthy. It was a very toxic dynamic. And so if I had had a mom that came to me and said, hey, that is not a way we move forward in life, right? Like we're starting to pull out these stories and these beliefs and then mother ourselves through them, for lack of a better term, right? So I want you to ask yourself, or you can ask it, what do I need to change that belief? What do I need to change that belief? Is there any sense of what that looks like? Because, and we're it's kind of like going back around to adventurous, right? Okay, so we'll get clear on that at the end because a lot of times, like our brains are so cute and they'll tell us these like fluffy words, which is okay. I don't want to say fluffy words because they are our deeper desires. But if we don't understand what that actually looks like from an actual lived experience, our brain will not, yeah. Like, I don't mean for it to sound like, oh, like that's not what you want. It is what you want. But if we don't get really clear on what it looks like, we won't allow ourselves to experience it and our brain won't understand. We have to get really clear on what that looks like for you. Okay, amazing. All right. So now, is there any systems or rules that I need to put in place to have the money I want? Are there any rules? And maybe it's not rules, like maybe it's just any systems or any like anything like from a strategic standpoint that I need to put in place to have the money I desire. And because you're such a good saver, that might not actually work for you. Yeah, amazing. Okay. Did that just come through now, or have you known that for a while? And the reason I asked that, like if you've known that for a while, oh yeah, with the business coaching, I felt better about spending more money to do it, even though I did. Okay, so this is really important. I am so glad this came up for you. This right here, and as I imagine will come along with this other stuff around being more adventurous and stuff like that. When we're wired for I have to save every single penny, it's always going to feel super uncomfortable to spend money, even though, which I find is so interesting because as coaches or as online service providers, we tend to make money a lot quicker than any other business, right? So the stereotypical business doesn't have a projected profit for the first 2 years. It takes 2 years to have a project, like to have a profit. Now, that's not for everybody, but we come into the online space and we're like, oh, it's going to happen immediately, but we don't feel safe or comfortable or worthy or whatever our story is to spend money to make money. Now, again, there's a balance here. Don't go out and spend 10K on a coach if it's going to bankrupt you and like, make your nervous system so dysregulated that you can't show up consistently, right? Like I've seen people do that where they've looked at coaches online and the coach is like, well, you have to, invest first or, whatever the story is. And they invest so much and then it dysregulates their nervous system that it actually puts them further away from their goal, right? So that's not what I'm saying. But there is a part in our business where we will, I'm not going to say have to, but probably have to spend money, right? Not everybody. Like if I think about Abigail, like I don't know if she's ever like hired a business coach, but her whole thing is that she doesn't want a team. She doesn't want to hire people to do things for her. And I feel that. I feel kind of similar, right? Like I just want an easy business model. And so when I think about that, I think, okay, I don't have to have team. I don't have to have complicated things or I don't have to run ads. So I'm just going to give you some space right now to get really clear on this because this is really important. And not only clear on is my next step that I want to run ads or because I think I should, right? Or is it actually in alignment? Because I would say, which is really interesting, and of course, I am not your business coach, so take this with a grain of salt, right? But I would say if you hired somebody to just rewrite your sales page, I wonder if that would change, right? I wonder if you would make, because you're already getting such good exposure. Do you really need to run ads? Or maybe you desire to run ads. Like there's no right or wrong question. I'm not saying running ads is wrong. I'm saying get clear on what's in alignment for you. Are you doing it would reduce the need for me to post on? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And if your highest value is freedom, that might be the answer here. So why don't you take a minute, take a breath, ask money, is that is that the best thing, right? Ask your business, connect in with money and connect in with your business. Really like connect in. I'm going to give you some time here because this is really important. And if you have trouble with this, let me know. I'm here to help you. Okay, amazing. Okay, let's let's go through a little process because I want you to get really clear on this today. This is why we're doing safety, right? So I want you to ask your body, which one is it that I need to talk to? Is it money or is it my business? And you'll intuitively know. You'll feel it in your body about this specific thing, about running ads, or about how you move forward in your business. And you'll intuitively know which one. They're kind of linked, but we want to know which one we're working with. So it's like, who am I going to talk to right now? Am I talking to my business or am I talking to money? Does that make sense when I'm asking? I hope so. So for me, like money came through very quickly. Money was like right here. I can like feel this energy of my perception of whatever money is, right? So if I were doing this, hey, I need extra information here. Who am I talking to? And it was like money. I was like, okay, cool. Take all the time you need here. Talk to my body, then honor that. Yeah. But just what happened, you just did, right? You just sat down and asked yourself. This is a part of the journey of starting to step into your power and trusting your own intuition. And that is a powerful place to be. That is a powerful, powerful place to be. Because the truth is, we will only get the results from a strategy that we allow ourselves to get. And it's so important that our intuition comes in and tells us, yes, this is the right strategy. And also with these caveats, I want to shift this. I want to change this. I want to change this price point, whatever. Right. Okay. So now I want you to just ask your body, right? I want you to ask your body. And if you don't know, just pretend you know. We're in a movie. You're the director, right? What does it mean to be more adventurous with money? What does that look like in my everyday life? That's a really good question. What does it look like in my everyday life to, and what I hear that like intuitively coming through is like to have more fun with money. Like how do I make this experience more fun for money or more fun for myself? So play around with those. See what comes through. I love that. And I love how I'm like also like selling a program about power right now, or like that's what I'm going to be selling. I love it. Okay. Because it's just coming up for everybody in my world right now. So I'm like, I'm going to sell this program about power. Okay. So let's take it a step forward. What a big moves to you. What does that mean? Giving yourself the space to honor that you know the answer and that you can trust yourself. A risk. Yeah. Okay. What does that risk look like? Is it spending more money than you're comfortable spending? Is it running ads? Is it, oh no, I can just hire somebody to do content for me? Like, what does that look like? Yes. Okay. So let's get really clear right now. So, guys, for those of you that the answer wasn't your body, I would really connect in with money, right? Like, not for her because she's really like working on her own intuition or her own trust from her body, but I would also be like tapping into how money feels, the energy and the personification of money, right? And if that didn't work or didn't give me the answers that, are super clear, I would tap into the energy of my business and that. So it's kind of like what that would feel like, okay, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this with you. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine that your intuition is there. So this might show up as like, the version of you that's really tapped into her power and really tapped into her intuition. But for those of you watching the replay, it could be the personification of money or the personification of your business. Where is that version? Is it closed? Is it far away? Can you talk to it? So for you, it's like, okay, where is this version of me? Or where is my intuition or this version of me that's super tapped into my intuition? Is this version of me close but small? Okay. What does it need to become bigger so you can actually ask it information, that you can actually have a conversation? What does it need? And it might just be I need to like make it bigger. I need to make it more bright. Or there might be something else that comes forward, right? Just let it be easy, that it's there. It's like, hey, I have the intention to connect with you. What do you need to connect with me more, right? Yeah. And honestly, I'm glad it makes you feel emotional because that's a really good sign that we're going in the right direction. So just know that you're going in the right direction and you're doing the right work. And also, as you start to visualize it bigger, notice how safe it feels, right? So we're back to safety. How safe does this feel for me to connect with this version of me? Or for those of you that are connecting with money or connecting with your business, how safe does it feel? Does it feel okay? Yeah, vulnerable. Yeah. And that means there's something here. So maybe you can try asking yourself, well, what do I fear would happen if I allow this myself to connect with this version of me more, my intuition more? Or what do I fear would happen if I allow myself to connect with money more or my business more? Because if there's vulnerability here, it's again just feedback that something is deeper regret. Wow, that is a big one. What does that regret look like? What does regret mean to you in this respect? Interesting. So, what does that remind you of? Is there something in the past that's painting this picture of hey, I can't trust myself because if I do, if I trust my intuition, I might do something that I regret. I can't figure myself for. We're just trying to get clear on where that came from and where the story was created. Making a mistake, yeah. And it must be so hard to live life, but to be in this business specifically when we're afraid of making a mistake. So I want you to just imagine that that version of you that's afraid of making a mistake is a child. What would you say? Right? Like, what would you say to a child that's like, I can't make a mistake? I can't trust my intuition or my reality, right? Like, it's the biggest gift we could ever give anyone, including our children, is to trust their reality and their heart and their intuition on things. Imagine yourself mothering yourself through this, holding yourself, telling yourself that it's okay to make a mistake, that we all make mistakes, and that we trust ourselves to handle it if we do make a mistake. It's not just that everybody makes mistakes, it's also, well, do I trust myself to handle it? Do I have the support and the tools to handle it? We all make mistakes. Sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah. And how beautiful that is. This one realization alone will literally transform your life and business. The transformation that I was afraid to make a mistake. If I do, I'm going to regret it. So I can't trust myself. I can't trust my own intuition on this. Guys, we are wired to trust our intuition, especially as women, especially as mothers. When we are in dynamics where we feel like we can't, this is what happens. We will feel stuck. We will only see one direction. Like things will feel like small and tight and like this is what happens. We have intuition for a reason, right? And really, intuition is just index information in different parts of our consciousness. So when we do this work, we allow ourselves to feel safe to access that information, right? So it's like, okay, I can trust myself. I can trust my intuition, and I can trust myself to handle it if I make a mistake. This is really about you trusting yourself. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you trust yourself to handle it if you do make a mistake? 10 being yes. 7. Okay. If you reach out and you grab that 7 and you just start to pull it up just slightly, like we don't have to force anything, just playing with it. Can you get it up further? Just see. Can you get up to an 8? Can you get it up to a 9? Yes, exactly. And I love that you already have the aligned action, right? So that's what I want you to do when you get off this call or for the next week. I want you to journal or just spend time connecting with that version of you, that child, like that it's safe for her to trust her intuition. For me, writing can be very powerful in this sense of like writing like a letter, and allowing, that version of us to answer. But if it feels better for you, it might just be talking to it and letting it answer, right? What feels best for you? Because I want to support you in having a very clear understanding of what this looks like so you can do it on your own in between calls. Yeah, exactly. And then all I want you to do is just ask yourself again, what does it look like to be more adventurous with money? So the things like if you have a pen and paper, write these down, right? So like when you're doing that, ask her about that. Because really, what's going to happen is you're going to dialogue and have this experience with this version of you that doesn't feel safe to trust her intuition. When she integrates, you will be kind of embodied in your intuition. So from there, you can ask yourself and trust that the answers are right. What does it mean to be adventurous with my money? What does making big moves mean for me? What's the amount of money I feel safe spending that feels safe and also feels like a big move? Get really clear on those things. If you just get clear on those 3 things, it will shift everything and it will allow yourself to see, I do I do trust my intuition and I'm going to listen to it because the more that you listen to it, the more that it feels heard and seen by you, the more it'll connect with you. A lot of times our intuition, we feel disconnected from it because we don't listen to it. So it's just kind of like, if a kid is like always asking questions and nobody answers, eventually it's just going to be like, well, I'm not going to connect anymore, right? So what does it feel like? Or sorry, what does adventurous mean for me, right? Like with money, because that was the first thing. The second thing was sorry, bear with me a second. Um the amount of money that feels like it's big moves but still feels safe, honoring that will also help you a lot. like spending from a place where it's like this is a stretch for me, and also if it doesn't turn out the way I want, it's not going to like bankrupt me. And your intuition in your body will tell you. It'll tell you where your like investment level is, where it's like, oh, it feels like a stretch, it feels a little bit scary, but it's not like going to sideline you. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, you've been writing it down. Okay. Amazing. And then yeah, from there, and if any other question pops up, you can ask it during that time as well. Please let me know how this goes. And just showing you how much like just connecting with these these things as like the personification of things, like, right? So like as money, as our business, as our intuition. Do you see like how you were able to tap into information that you didn't really have coming onto this call? And I don't know that you would have had that information around the regret, which allowed us to get to this point of, oh, I need to work on trusting myself. I know. I'm so glad that it supported you. So let me know if you have any questions or need anything. You can drop in the Facebook group. And yeah, I think the platform should be open in the next week. So we're excited about that. And yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your week. Okay, bye.